was coming.
What, didn't he know anything about it?
No, of course he didn't. He wasn't even at home. He's away traveling. I just couldn't stand it any longer, Hedda. I really couldn't. Spending the rest of my life up there completely on my own. So I packed a few of my things, what I needed most, as discreetly as I could, and left the house.
Without telling anyone?
Yes, and I caught the train into town.
But Thea, my dear, I don't know how you dared.
What else could I have done?
But what's your husband going to say when you get back?
Back to him.
Well, yes.
Oh, I'm not going back to him. Ever.
You mean you've left home now for good?
Yes, well, there didn't seem to be any alternative.
What, openly, just like that?
Well, you can't very well keep a thing like that secret, can you?
But Thea, what do you think people are going to say when they find out about all this?
Oh, I don't know. They can say what they like. What I've done, I did because I had to.
So how are you going to do, what are you going to proceed?
Oh, I don't know. All I know is I must live here, where Islet Lovework is, if I'm to live at all.
Thea, tell me, how did this friendship develop between you and Islet Lovework?
Oh, it happened gradually. And after a bit, I found I had a kind of power over him.
Oh, really?
Yes, and he started giving up his old habits. Not that I asked him to. I never dared to do that. But I'm sure he noticed how much they upset me, so he just abandoned them.
So little Thea to the rescue, you might say.
Well, that's what he says anyway. And in return, he showed me how to be a real human being. Taught me how to think and how to understand all sorts of things.
He gave you lessons as well?
Well, not exactly lessons. We just talked. We talked endlessly about everything. And then there was a wonderfully happy time when he let me share in his work and help him.
He let you do that?
Oh yes, whenever he wrote something, we always worked at it together.
Soulmates, were you?
Soulmates, it's funny, Hedda. That's what he used to say. I ought to feel gloriously happy, but I can't because I don't know how long it's going to last.
Don't you trust him any more than that?
There's still something between Islet Lovework and me. The shadow of a woman.
But who?
Oh, I don't know. Someone in the past. Someone he's never quite been able to forget.
What has he told you about her?
He's only ever made one casual reference to her.
And what does he say?
He said that when they had to part, she threatened to shoot him with her pistol.
Oh, nonsense. People never do things like that.
No, that's why I think it must be that red-headed singer he used to...
Yes, of course it must be.
Yes, I remember hearing about her. Apparently she used to carry around loaded guns.
Well, then it must have been her.
Yes, but the thing is, Hedda, I just found out that the singer is here in town. Oh, I feel so desperate.
Shh, here comes Desmond. Listen, Thea, all this is between you and me.
Oh, yes, please, for God's sake.
Well, it's my missing, all signed and sealed.
Good, well, I think Mrs. Alston has got to be going now. I'll just see her to the garden gate.
Hedda, perhaps Bertie could take care of it.
Yes, I'll tell her.
Judge Brack is here, Maggie. He says he'd like to see you.
Yeah, show him in, and listen, would you put this letter in the post?
You don't mind my calling so early in the day?
Not at all.
You're always welcome here. Judge Brack, Miss Wilson.
Pleased to meet you.
I don't know if you two. I'm not used to seeing you in the daylight, Judge.
Do I look different?
A little younger, I think.
Thank you kindly.
What about Hedda? Doesn't she look healthy? She's actually...
Oh, don't talk about me. You'd be better to thank Judge Brack for all the trouble he's taken.
That was my pleasure.
You're very devoted. Listen, my friend has died to get away. I'll be a moment.
Well, is your wife reasonably pleased?
Oh, yes, we can't thank you enough. I mean, she told me there are one or two changes she wants to make, and a few things she still needs. So we shall have to make a few more minor purchases.
Oh, really?
Yes, but don't worry, we won't bother you about that anymore. She says that everything she needs she'll see to herself. That's it, finished.
Thank you, just for a minute. There's something I wanted to talk to you about, Desmond.
Is there? Oh, I know. I suppose it's time for the afternoon speeches now, is it? From Memphis.
Oh, you mean the financial arrangements? No, nothing pressing about it. Although I am beginning to wish we set about things a little more modestly.
But how could you? What about Hedda? Surely you know her by now. You know I can possibly expect her to put up with a life of genteel poverty.
No, well, that's just the problem, isn't it?
Yes, well, fortunately it shouldn't be too long now before I'm getting my appointment.
Well, that sort of thing is quite often a lengthy process.
You haven't heard anything more about it, have you?
No, nothing definite. There is one thing. I do have one piece of news for you.
What?
Your old friend, Arlette Gabler, has arrived in town.
Oh, yes, I know.
Oh, how did you find that out?
That friend of hers still was.
Oh, what was her name? I didn't quite catch it.
Mrs. Alston.
Oh, yes, the magistrate's wife. He's been living up there with him, hasn't he?
Yes, and I was delighted to hear he's turned over a new leaf.
So they say.
And I gather he's published a new book.
It has, yes.
And it seems to have created something of a sensation.
Quite an unusual sensation.
Well, that's very good news, isn't it? He's exceptionally talented. I was afraid he'd completely gone to pieces.
That's what everyone thought.
But what's he going to do now? How's he going to make a living?
Desmond spends his life worrying about how other people are going to make a living.
We just heard about poor Islet's Lovework.
Oh, what about him?
Well, I'm sure he must have frittered away his inheritance years ago. And he can't very well have his book every year, can he? So I was wondering what was going to become of him.
I might be able to give you some information about that.
Oh?
You must remember his relatives have quite a lot of influence.
Yes, but unfortunately his relatives have completely washed their hands of him.
At one time he was considered the white hope of the family.
Yes, at one time, but he ruined all that himself.
Who knows? Up there at the Elsters, they're supposed to have rescued him.
And then there's this book he's published.
Yes, well, I hope to God they can help him find something to do. I just written to him. I invited him to come and see us this evening.
But Tasman, I thought you were coming to my bachelor party. You promised last night on the Keep.
Had you forgotten?
Yes, completely.
Anyway, I'm sure he won't come.
What makes you think that?
My dear Tasman, and you too, Mrs. Tillman, there's something it wouldn't be right to go on concealing from you. It's
About Tyler?
about you and him.
Well, then you better tell us.
You ought to be prepared for your appointment not to be quite as automatic as you hope and expect.
Why? Has it been blocked in some way?
It's possible that the award of the post may depend on the results of the competition.
Really? What about that, Hedda?
So that's it.
But against whom?
Precisely, Ireland Lodwalk.
But, Judge, this is quite inconceivable. I mean, it's quite impossible, isn't it?
At the same time, I think that's what's going to happen.
But, Judge, that would be incredibly inconsiderate. I mean, I am a married man. We married, Hedda and I, because we were counting on that. We ran up all those debts, and we borrowed money from Auntie Julia as well. My God, I'd more or less been promised that job, hadn't
Now,
I?
calm down. I'm sure you'll get it in the end after this contest.
It's rather exciting, isn't it, Tasman? Like a race.
Hedda, my dear, I don't see how you can be so casual about it.
Oh, but I'm not. I'm really quite anxious to see what happens.
In any case, Mrs. Tasman, I think it's quite a good thing that you should know what the position is before you start making all those little purchases I gather you're threatening.
I don't see what difference that can make.
Don't you? Well, that's up to you. Goodbye. When I take my afternoon walk, I'll call by to collect you.
Yes, too. I don't know what to think about this.
Goodbye. Come again soon, Judge.
I will. Goodbye.
Goodbye, Judge. I'm sorry about all this. You see, Hedda, that's what comes of setting up on these romantic adventures, isn't it?
Experienced of that, are you?
Well, you must admit it was rather adventurous of me to marry and set up home on nothing but expectations.
Yes, I suppose you're right.
But at least, Hedda, we have our beautiful